Yeah, welcome to the Racer X Exhaust Podcast, brought to you by the folks at Yoshimura. Yoshimura has a nice line of exhaust systems for the very popular trail bikes out there, or pit bikes as we would call them. For example, Honda redesigned the CRF 125F last year, has a new frame and EFI, which is a real big breakthrough for these types of bikes. You can get an RS9 exhaust system from Yoshimura for it. 2.6% gain in peak horsepower, 3.2% gain in peak torque. That's a big percentage when you're talking about a bike that doesn't produce a lot of power stock, because it's a air-cooled four-stroke that's designed really as a play bike. So check out the RS9 exhaust system for that, the RS2 system for the very popular Kawasaki KLX 110, all available at yoshimura-rd.com. And also Yoshimura Cycling, where we've got those Chileo pedals and cool kits and all that. I want to say that the exhaust system on the KLX 110 looks really cool, and it even has a spark arrestor built in, and it's designed to be quiet, even though you do get power gains compared to the stock machine. Okay, so that's Yoshimura. Also want to thank our sponsor, MX Tech Suspension. They manufacture professional aftermarket suspension for riders who want excellent comfort and control. Their quality engineering is based on a lifetime of specializing in dirt bike suspension, and they've developed the Lucky Fork, featuring dual springs, dual cartridges, huck valves, and ultra lightweight. MX Tech utilizes the latest in technology and coatings to deliver maximum performance while remaining the lightest shock available. Head over to mx-tech.com for more information. And also over at Racer X, we've got the annual calendar giveaway. So if you sign up for a subscription now, you will get the calendar in the mail, and there's still time to even get it before January 1st. Not only do you get the calendar, which celebrates 50 years of the AMA National Motocross Championship with some cool old photos, you'll also get a $25 Rocky Mountain ATV MC gift card. So that, throw in the card and the calendar, it's pretty much free because we charge you $30 a year to subscribe to the magazine, and you get it both print and digital. So do it now. Go to racerxonline.com/Weege. Today's guest on the Exhaust Podcast is Jeremy Martin. I kind of wait when the season is over. I give everyone like a month or so to just be normal and not do media and chill out, especially this year because riders like Martin were in press conferences 2 or 3 days a week during the season. That's the way it was actually working with the races coming at us so quickly. But now it's time to get answers, and I really was more puzzled by this signing than anything else. There have been some big moves, 450 guys moving teams and things like that. That's big. Like, say, Justin Barcia moving to GasGas, that's a big deal. But nothing was more surprising than Jeremy Martin going to Star Racing. I cannot tell you how bad the relationship was between Jeremy and Star. I'm not sure how Star felt about him, but I know how he felt about Star at the end of his tenure there in 2016 because I tried to interview him when he signed with GEICO Honda. We actually had to wait until he had everything figured out. I think they let him out of his deal early. Remember, he rode the Honda at the USGP at Glen Helen. I think they let him out of his deal early. I think he might have still actually gotten a few more paychecks after that. They were cool enough to let him ride the Honda early. Still need to get paid. So we really treaded carefully with the interviews. But if you read the interview I did with Jeremy way back then, and you read between the lines, you could tell he wasn't really happy with that team. I don't know how they felt about him, but I know he wasn't happy with them. There was always this theory that it was more Cooper Webb's team than his, and we had the famous easy up out of the back of the rig, so Jeremy would pit by himself instead of with the other Star guys who all train with Gareth Swanepoel. Martin does not. Then Cooper Webb got the big Yamaha factory deal as a 450 guy. Jeremy did not. There was the mysterious day where the Martin brothers' bikes blew up at High Point, although I did go and ask Brad from Star about that, and to me he had a perfectly reasonable explanation about which bikes blew up that day and did not, which was that it had rained earlier at High Point and the track was deep and soft, and sometimes that happens, especially in the 250 class. Either way, Jeremy wasn't pumped back then, but as shocking as this is, if you look back at it, maybe it's not as shocking considering all summer long and fall, he essentially said Dylan Ferrandis' bike is awesome. He didn't take any credit away from Dylan. Dylan's a great rider, but Jeremy made it pretty obvious that he knows how good those Yamahas are, and that's what he's on again. Although he, in this interview, doesn't just say, it's the motor. He talks just much about the staff and the chassis and all that being great on this bike as well. So let's get into it with Jeremy Martin. Now back, shockingly, look, if you're an industry insider, if you were around back then, I can tell you, you would have put money on Jeremy Martin will never race for this team again. And here we are. Dude, I'm going to start here. I don't know if this is the biggest news of the offseason, but it is definitely, to me, the most shocking news. I would have never put money on Jeremy Martin racing for Star Racing. But here we are. Jeremy Martin, you're on Star Racing again. That shocked me.
Yeah, so I had, obviously I had heard at Ironman Raceway, which is like the third outdoor national that GEICO is, hey, if we can't find a title sponsor, it's not going to be good, we're going to have to close the doors. And I'm at that time, I'm pretty well invested into the championship. So I was just I don't care. If I win this thing, that's all that matters. I did my job, and, if I do that, then I'll get a ride. Mm-hmm. And when it came down to it, I was just I think the first time I had contact, I went over to see Alex at WW Ranch, and Star was right there, and Jeremy Coker actually approached me and was like, hey, would you be interested in riding for us? And I was a little bit taken aback.
I would think, yeah.
And I was just yeah, I'm definitely considering it for sure. And, I'm waiting to hear from GEICO. I'm supposed to hear something after Colorado. And then, Colorado came and we never heard anything. So I was finally I put my nose to the pavement after Colorado. And I actually sat down in Mitch Payton's office. I sat down in Star's office down there in Temecula. Mm-hmm. So, and then I had a lot of talks with GasGas and TK. So that was, yeah. And then ultimately I thought pretty hard about what would be the best future plan for me. And even though I kind of had my differences with Star back in the day, I kind of walked in and we kind of talked to each other about it. And we're let bygones be bygones. And I felt like that was the best route for me, even for the future.
Yeah, so first, going back to the GEICO thing, you had another year, so that had to be a gut punch when you first heard that news. That had to be terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. I was definitely not happy about the whole, because I really loved that team. It felt like family to me, and I felt this year, it was a good year, but ultimately, I came back from broken back. So it was man, we hope this guy can win some races. We hope he can show some speed. But I don't think anybody expected me to be that competitive. So I was really kind of a little bummed, obviously, that I can't, because they did stick with me, that they couldn't have done another year with me where I'm fully ready to go, Right.
And so they were kind of saying, look, we're going to try. It sounds like you had a couple more weeks up to Colorado. So did that make it tough to even start talking to other teams because you didn't necessarily know, GEICO might have just stuck around with another sponsor, I guess?
Yeah, it made it a little tough, but I think one thing that I did was, before I always had, an agent or someone, an agent negotiate for me. So this was the first time that, I'm no agent. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing for me was after Colorado and stuff, I finally said, hey, guys, I have to go out and I have to protect my future.
Right.
I respect you guys. I want to be a loyal person. Mm-hmm. I said, but this is business for me as well. Yeah. And I think once I had that talk with those guys about that, and then every time I would have a conversation, whether it be GasGas or Mitch or even Star after Colorado, it was I would call the owners and just say, hey, look, this was the conversation that I had. This is where we're at. So nobody was feeling like I was backdooring,
Yeah. That's pretty cool. You bailed you didn't know you were racing for a contract all summer, but you actually did do that. Have you actually looked back and said, man, good thing I had a strong year because in the end I needed it or I might have not had a ride?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, frick, I didn't expect to be in that position, I mean, I was pretty, I didn't win a Supercross race, but I definitely showed that I had some speed for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously outdoors, I think I smashed it considering, like my circumstances and stuff like that. So, and I felt like I kept the championship pretty damn interesting for the most part. So, yeah, it's a good thing, I worked hard and was able to get an 11th hour deal. That's for dang sure.
Well, it helped that we were joking that there were going to be 49 guys riding for Star. It just seems like they are going for it, man. Like, so many riders rumored. I didn't even hear about you. That was a surprise, but they had room for you. Dude, it just seems like they're willing to do whatever it takes right now. Hire more guys, 3-rider 450 team. Most 450 teams have 2. It just looks like they're going all out is what I see from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to deny it. Like, since I've been on the team and, like, we're at the test track, like, before Mini-O's, they had the amateur guys, and then they had, Justin Cooper was out, but we had almost the entire 250 pro side, like, at the track, and then we had the 450 guys, and it's like a freaking main event. Like, I got to wear my earplugs and shit, because it's just like, holy crap, this is loud. So the track gets rough, it breaks down, and it's like, all right.
Yeah, so you're out there together, like you and the 450 guys. You'll be doing Supercross laps and lap times and all that.
Yeah, so like I don't train with Team Swanee. A lot of the guys do, but I kind of do my own program. That was like kind of a big thing for me. That when I came back, I was like, hey, like I want to ride for you guys. I'm willing to ride for you guys, but I want to train my way, And they said, yeah, we don't doubt your fitness abilities and stuff like that. So we know that you're not, we know you'll put in the work. But yeah, they're out there and I see them and, they time me, I time them, and we just kind of feed off each other.
Okay, look, man, you were pretty clear about it all summer. And you used to ride these bikes. And you were battling for Ennis. You know this. We know the bike is really good. I'm sure that had to have been a factor in, like, considering going back there.
Yeah, so, I mean... So I thought about it quite a bit, like I said earlier, Weege. It was like the biggest thing was GasGas there was a potential future deal there too. Mitch was a 1-year deal, no matter what. Like, and then you had Star. So I would, no matter what, be on a different chassis, a different manufacturer for next year, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
But my biggest thing was there was no future with Kawasaki. AC's they're going to keep him.
Yep.
They're going to keep Eli if Eli wants to keep going. And then they have Faulkner, which has a guaranteed 450 deal, and they're going to, like, keep him.
Yep.
If he can, get her done. So I was like, well, I'm done there.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, if I go to GasGas, I have to learn the staff. I have to learn everybody. And then, 250, and I have to win to get a 450 deal.
Right.
Or you go to Star, you have to win to potentially get a 450 deal too. But you get to work with the same suspension technicians and the people that know you from when you won your last 2 championships. And
so a lot of it is just that, like the personnel you worked with a couple years ago, still there. Like there's a comfort in that.
Absolutely. Like even though we've had a little bit of a rough patch, I think for me, I was willing to like look at it from a business perspective and say, dude, you have to win. Like your ass is on the line. You're not guaranteed a 450 contract. So what is going to be the best thing for you to be able to jump on a different manufacturer and then have the comfort and have what you used to have so you can perform and you can make something for the future,
Well, look, dude, you know how fast those bikes are. You were saying it without saying it, kind of. This year, you know what it was like when you raced them. That has to be good, too. The suspension tech thing, obviously you're comfortable with them. But the bikes are good, dude.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I raced the GEICO bike, and it was, Ziggy gave me probably one of the best forks and overall suspension setups I think I've ever run. And I thought, like, I was pretty competitive. I mean, dude, look, like, aside from Dylan, I'd say I did pretty dang good in the championship. We kind of, as far as from a points perspective, we waxed everybody else.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I rode the, the Yamaha, and the GEICO guys did everything they could to maximize that bike and make it as good as possible and be competitive. But I was definitely like I rode the bike and I was like, wow. Like, I remember what it was like when I left there and at the end of 2016, but I didn't think it was going to be that much better.
In the like the 4 years have passed, it's gotten even that much better.
Yes. I was like, yeah, for sure.
Wow. So what you're saying is they have a 450 team, but they're not saying like, hey, you got a 450 deal in 2022. It's not quite like that, but maybe you have a chance if it goes well.
Yes.
I gotcha. So really, this is about, are you looking at it like this? Like, I'm going to be essentially a free agent again. I've got to prove myself again in 2021, and then maybe I can finally get one of these 450 deals.
Yes, absolutely.
Gosh. Okay, so part of that obviously is this Supercross thing, and it's like we have the same conversation every year. Could this be the year? Could this be the year that it finally all works out?
I mean, yeah, it kind of has to be the year to work out, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of been my kryptonite, I guess you could say, and something that I've been thinking about pretty heavily. That's for dang sure.
Right. It's weird, too, because, like, you know, I think people just look and they're like, well, he's won all these outdoor races, but he hasn't won a Supercross title. He's just not as good in Supercross. But in random races here and there, you go as fast as other people. And a couple years ago, before your injury, what did you win? 2, 3 races?
I think it was 3.
Three. And you won you won the East West at Indy? Like, it's weird. It's like for 3 or what is what I see. It's like for 3 or 4 Supercross races a year, you're as good as anybody else. It's an odd thing. It's not like you're just terrible all the time. Do you see it that way? Like, it's if you could just replicate that in every race, you'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a matter of like, does he have the skill or does he have the speed? I have all those things. It's just being able to put it together for 8 or 9 rounds and then kind of get away from the bullshit, I guess you could say. Like, because outdoors you have 30 minutes plus 2, so you like someone goes down, you have time to make that up, like to make that mistake up. So for Supercross, it's so short, it's so fast. It's just like you don't have the time. So I mean, yeah, if I get a whole shot and you know I can ride my lines, I know I can win. Like, there's people that are going to be able to match me, but overall, like, I have the endurance, I have the speed. So the biggest thing I think for me moving forward is what can you do to maximize your bad days? So if you don't get the best start or if you do have a tip over, what is going to make it to where you are unlocked for those 3 rounds? You're like, hey, J-Mart, you're really good for those 3 rounds. Well, what's going to make me unlocked if I don't get a good start and I have to take lines that I don't want to take to be good for, you know, to win races and to be really competitive? And that's kind of where I've think about more of that now than I probably before. It was like speed, fitness. That's it. You know, all of that's there. I know how to win championships. I know how to deal with the pressure. It's just about cleaning up the other little things so that way I can be in a championship hunt for Supercross.
Dude, I remember back, I think this was the Foxborough race in 2016? Maybe it was 2015. And you were battling for the title. Was that the year Mookie won? I think you were battling Mookie.
Mm-hmm.
Or...
Yeah.
I think you were in the points hunt, and then you got like a bad start in Foxborough. And dude, I've never seen someone ride so hard. But you ended up getting like 4th or something. And it was like, oh, well, he lost a points lead or he lost big points. Like, exactly. Like, you were fast, you rode hard, you didn't get tired, but you still lost points. It's like all those little races. But dude, I remember how hard you were trying because I'm sure you knew how important that race was.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of like I said, like,
yep.
Supercross is a little bit of a different beast, you know, like, and it's not necessarily about the speed and the fitness all the time. It's more of, like I talked about just now, just making sure that you're consistently in a good position and you're able to maximize every situation to the fullest.
Yeah, well, look what happened this year, right? Like, I know you were struggling with some arm pump, but you were doing okay points-wise, and then you had one race pretty much ruin it this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That damn tough block.
You've been good at flipping and landing on tough blocks and all that through the years, though. You're really good at that.
I know. It's like it's a love-hate relationship with those things.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so you're on the team. How different is the team? The bike you said has gotten better in 4 years. How different is the team from when you were there? Is it all some familiar faces? Is there some new people? Does the atmosphere feel the same? Does it feel different? What's it like?
It's definitely different in some ways, and then other ways, I guess it's still the same. So, like the box truck we took back in the day, the OG one that would make a bunch of noises, and if whatever had a rainy day or something, it would kind of leak through the cab, and that's still there. And I still see some of the same guys as far as like Brad Hoffman and There's a couple OG mechanics there, but man, I don't know. It's just I look at it from I was with a GEICO felt like family, and this is a business. And there's some guys that I do gravitate towards that I'm a little bit more comfortable with, just because I dealt with them for so many years before I went to GEICO. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just kind of me Weeds. I kind of do my own thing, and my phone's always there in case they need to get a hold of me or do something. But I just kind of stick to my guns, and I've got the bike, and it's just time to apply the resources that I have for moving forward and get the job done.
Hey, was Will Hahn there when you were at Star, or did he come in after that?
So Will was actually a part of the team at GEICO for 3-4 months,
right?
And then I don't know what happened, but they decided to split ways, and then he actually went to Star. So
I think Star kind of gave him an upgrade. He was an amateur guy, I think, at GEICO. I remember asking my Shaq, and he's like, basically, they gave him a better position than we could offer. So yeah, he switched. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So then he switched, and then now it's kind of like I knew Will a little bit from those couple of months, so it's just been an easy transition, and he's been super nice and respectable, so it's been good.
Okay, so he was there at the very end kind of your time there the first time around.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so where are you? Obviously, you're in California now. How's your whole schedule and where you're living and staying and working, and how's that all going to work?
It's good, man. I tell you what, I kind of miss the old Minnesota program, or even I went to Cortez for a week to ride with Eli to kind of get out of the California rat race and everything. And but it's good. I mean, I've got a beautiful setup. I rented a little place here and right across from the test tracks and stuff. But yeah, just doing the training and everything. But I definitely miss my East Coast or Cortez, Colorado setup for sure.
Oh, so that was I think that popped up on Instagram. Like, oh, J Mark's back in Colorado. That was just for a week. You think you might go back, or do you not know how it's going to work?
I mean, yeah, I would definitely go back for Supercross.
Oh, okay.
If it permits itself. I mean, the biggest thing is I was like, hey, Eli, I'm out here in California or whatever, and I was like, hey, would you want a riding partner for a week? Obviously we do work really, really well together, and we enjoy each other's company. So he's like, hey, yeah, come on out. So I got my little Danger Ranger and drove 10 hours out to Cortez with the old six machine in the back of the truck, and we had a good week and a half.
Wait, so this is factory rider, national champ Jeremy Martin. You got an old Ford Ranger with your bike in the back, and you just drove 10 hours.
Oh, yeah.
That is awesome, man. With a gear bag, basically, and some luggage?
Yeah, pretty much. Just a minimalist right now, I mean, because it's always like, whenever I come out to California in the winter, it's like, with the photo shoots and the new products and stuff like that, the teams always kind of load you up. So I always kind of come out with the bare minimum, and I leave having to say, oh, Gio, I need a new suitcase. Can you hit it? I got all the shit. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Take the haul. That's good. Hey, your bro ended up back on a Yamaha also, not the same team. I mean, there was 1 year you were actually on the same team, but how about that? Your bro ended up back in a Yamaha too.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, he was kind of hitting me up. He's like, hey, what do you think I should do? And this and that. And I said, you got to look at it from, what's going to be the best possible, stock platform, the starting base of, what's going to provide you with the best, the frame. I thought that the Yamaha, not only was the engine really fast, but I think the one thing that blew me away the most was how soft the chassis felt. So when you were going and accelerating out of a turn, or you were hitting braking bumps, it was a lot more soft, and it just didn't beat you up as bad. And I told him about that, and we both knew that the power base from a stock platform, there's a lot of potential there, right?
Yep.
And I said, what do you he had some other opportunities with some satellite private 250 teams, And I said to him, I said, you owe it to yourself to really kind of put yourself back on, I guess, maybe one of the best stock platforms and maybe go from there. And I think that's kind of what he chose to do.
Oh, okay. So there was you're not going to take credit for it, but there might have been a little influence from Bro. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, not much. I mean, he kind of knows, like we always kind of knew, like, dang, that dang blue bike,
It was good. You guys did do well on him. Hey, I don't think Bobby Regan was going to races this year, maybe because of COVID. I'm not sure. I never saw him around. So have you actually seen him or talked to him? Or I haven't seen him lately. Have you?
So I haven't personally seen Bobby since I signed with the team, but I've called him a couple times.
Okay.
And I won't ever forget the first conversation I had with him, and I said, "Hey, boss," and he's just like, "Hey, son," and in that southern accent, and I said, I look forward to doing business with you, and it was just kind of funny,
So nothing needed to be said, but you both knew.
Yeah.
One of those.
Good.
All right, so he's still, it sounds like to me, though, I mean, he's got enough generals or whatever you want to call them. Like, he doesn't need to be involved on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't sound like.
No, I don't think so, but I mean, he's definitely a competitive guy, and
yeah.
I think he is obviously heavily involved, but just more so from the phone, I would say.
Yeah. Is that because he was at every race when you were there the first time around, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, but I assume that COVID and all that stuff, and he's getting a little bit older. I'm sure he picks and chooses his battles a little bit,
Yep, makes sense. Okay, so for you, going into 2021, I feel like this is a position you almost like to be in. Once again, back's kind of up against the wall. There's no comfort here. You have to perform because ultimately the goal is to be a 450 guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely kind of time to really get a run at this Supercross championship. I don't think anybody doubts me in outdoors,
Yep.
And not to say anybody really doubts me in Supercross. It's just putting the pieces of the puzzle together to like what I've done for outdoors for Supercross, because there's been so much good outdoor memories that it's time to really kind of put a stamp on this Supercross season.
So there it is, Jeremy Martin back on Star Racing. I don't think anyone is saying he would not be the preseason favorite for motocross next year. That's a long way off. The assumption is that motocross will return in May. Schedule hasn't been announced, but everyone's hoping that everything goes back to normal, where Supercross races January through May and motocross starts. Then the latter portion of that month, as of now, 6 months in advance, I'd say Jeremy is the favorite, especially on that bike. Lots of things can change from there, but he doesn't really need to prove himself outdoors. What he needs to do is get this Supercross thing done. Will the Star Racing bike be the key? Didn't win titles, but won a lot of races on it in his previous tour in Supercross with the Yamaha. A couple years ago in Supercross on the Honda, he had a bad year, a good year, and then missed an entire year with injuries. So we'll see if he can solve that and then maybe get a 450 ride. These 250 guys like him, they do not want to stay in the 250 class. They just can only find employment in the 250 class, which is a topic we've gone over a million times. As I like to say, it's this simple. You cannot make rules that are perfect for everything, but that doesn't mean the rules are terrible. It's the best set of rules we have. You have to force some riders out of the class, but obviously there are ways around those rules. I don't know how you get around that. Some people have suggested a total points scenario for a career, but at the same time, then you'd have, top 10, top 15 guys who've been in the class for a long time eventually would hit that threshold, and then they'd have to race the 450 class, and maybe they wouldn't ever make mains, and they wouldn't make money, and then people would say, well, now that rule forced them out of the sport. So when you look at all the different situations that you're trying to solve, privateer guys trying to make mains and make money, veteran guys trying to win titles, other guys that want to move to the 450s, et cetera, all these different scenarios to come up with one rules package that fits perfectly for everyone is not possible. So you got to really just take, to me, a little bit of the bad with what is generally good. Look at the 450 class this upcoming year. Ferrandis moved up. McElrath moved up. Sexton moved up. It's working. For the most part, we get 1 to 3 riders as the average moving up into the 450 division. They usually find places to ride. To me, it works 80%. And I don't know if you can get a rule that's going to be 100%. That's just my little aside on Jeremy Martin still racing in the 250 class. Yes, there's exceptions to rules. He got hurt. He missed time. He hasn't won in Supercross in a long time. So that's just allowed him to slide in between the pointing out system. But that's rare that anyone's going to put that perfect circumstance together. See Ferrandis, see Sexton, see Cianciarulo, see Osborne, see Savacci, all these other dudes that have moved up. Okay, that's it for our show. Thanks to Yoshimura. They got the Yoshimura exhaust systems for your pit bike, be it the RS9 system for the Honda 125 or the RS2 system for the DRZ 110 or KLX 110. That's all good stuff because it's, a little more power, looks cooler, maybe a little bit lighter, sounds cooler, but not obnoxiously loud, because kind of the idea of pit bikes is that you can ride them in the backyard and things like that, and I don't think these exhaust systems will offend anyone. So check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. And also thanks to MX Tech Suspension, got the Lucky Fork, dual springs, dual cartridges, Huck valves, ultra lightweight. MX Tech utilizes the latest in technology and coatings to deliver maximum performance while remaining the lightest shock available. Head over to mx-tech.com for more. That's it. Also go to racerxonline.com. Check out all our stories. racerxonline.com/Weege to get the calendar with our awesome calendar offer for 2021. Subscribe. All right, we got a bunch of podcasts coming your way, so I'm going to keep churning them out. Thanks for listening.